Welcome back everyone. This is part 3 on what if the Transformers were in high school. DXD. And I do not own DXD and the Transformer or any of the characters in this video. The rest of chapter 2. Residential District. 1 minute earlier, Irina and Ross Weiss managed to decapitate the head unit of one of these drones before it could harm a family. It took 7 minutes trying as these things don't stay down. That took much more time than I would like, Irina said as the family she and Ross Weiss saves were evacuated. Another one popped up out of nowhere and with a swing of its arm, it hit Irina hard and swatted her into one of the abandoned houses. The impact from the drone was harder than the angel had anticipated. As the metal arm sprained her left arm and wing, Ross Weiss noticed and tried to intervene, but was held off by 2 more of these melee variant drones. Irina saw that the drone that attacked her was ready to end her life, as it revealed a nasty-looking blade that looked like it was made to make the victim die a slow and painful death. Irina defiantly readied her attack as she manifested a ring of light and readied to throw it with her right arm. The drone raised its arm high to strike down in response, but then, the drone jolted in response to getting shots fired at its back, before it can turn around. Bumblebee leaped onto the drone's back and made the machine try to shake him off. The drone didn't get Bumblebee off in time, as he fired a few shots from his more powerful blasters, and then the drone's head got blown off by an extra powerful firearm that didn't come from any of his weapons. He looked at where the blast came from, and he saw a sight for sore eyes, a mostly white and blue Autobot with the number 38 on the doors of his possible alternate mode of a racing car. He had a confident smirk on his face that told Irina and Ross Weiss pretty well what his personality was like. He was young and cocky. The bot was accompanied by another Autobot who looked to transform into a rescue helicopter as he had that medical cross on its chest. It had a faceplate like Optimus, and a visor like what was on Stormclash. The helicopter bot headed for Irina and said in a voice that sounded like an old man, "Hold still. I'll scan your biometric data to see how severe your injuries are." Irina did as she was told and stood still as he waved his hand over her body from top to bottom, a line of light following along the path the hand moved. Bumblebee meanwhile patted the white and blue bot on the back in a manner like friends do, as Ross Weiss pulled her lance from the core of the last robot drone that had initially surrounded her until Skyburst launched missiles at the drones as she flew overhead. "Man B," the new Autobot said. "That was something, huh? And are you as weirded out by our shrunken sizes as I am?" The new helicopter bot, who is another medical officer like First Aid and Wheeljack to a degree, said in response, "Honestly, sparklings like you smokescreen get surprised far too often to treat minor inconveniences as the end of the world. Crises. We're the size of mini cons. Deal with it." Sigh. "I'm getting too old for this crap." Irina noticed the bot now named Smokescreen looked offended as he retorted while blasting another drone with his arm cannons. "That's just like you to say Q500. You're just jealous that I am a graduate of the Cybertron Elite Guard." The medic rolled his optics as he said with little care, "Whatever, Greenhorn." Ross Weiss decided to move ahead to help the other Autobots with the remaining drones, saying to them, "Bumblebee, was it? I'm gonna help the others with those attack drones further ahead. Look after Irina for me, please." Bumblebee nodded and gave a thumbs up, as the former Valkyrie flew off with Smokescreen transforming into a race car or a sports car with race decals and followed her, eager to blast some more cons, even if they weren't actual Decepticons. Q500 looked at Smokescreen with incredulity as he said, "One of these days, that one, Rust, Dust, and Hot Shot will get one of us killed with that gun-ho attitude of theirs. Morons, every single one of them." Irina didn't feel it appropriate to ask, but she did anyway. "So, am I cleared from the hospital?" The medic bot looked at Irina as he put a splint on her sprained left arm, saying, "No, if you don't want to keep that arm and wing of yours, go ahead and fight and get them torn off. Your anatomy is remarkably similar to a human's, thankfully." Even though this is the first time I've operated on an angel, Irina decided to stay put for now, as she thought, "I don't want to lose my arm or wings. It would make Issy sad." While the shopping and residential districts were mostly contained now, the same couldn't really be said for at where the attack began. Meanwhile, back at Kuo Academy 10 minutes earlier, crash landing, skirmish at the plaza, Transformers, fall of Cybertron. Riaz and Akano found it very hard to destroy these robot drones with their magic, whatever they are. They were clearly designed to fight against magic users. It became pretty clear as the Autobots and Hudu were tearing through most of them with ease. It had only been a minute since Optimus Lieutenant led a team to Kuo Town to intercept the group of drones that flew off in that direction. It was a large number, but compared to the group they had to face now, well, they thank their training for the raiding games and dealing with the Chaos faction, because they would have been overrun already if not. L709 helped out Sona with putting up a shield from a device he had pulled from his back. The magic shield started to break apart from the endless barrage of fire. The heavily armored Autobot deployed his shield generator to reinforce the magic shield. D002 transformed into a speed car that deployed weapons and fired missiles at the drones, destroying them with ease alongside Sideswipe, Cliff Jumper, and Warpath. Izzy faced a larger robot than the other drones with Grimlock. Perceptor earlier identified this larger drone as likely to be the leader of the drones, and that taking it out will likely shut all the other drones down. Grimlock fought with a ferocity that was very primal, animalistic. He was less like a soldier and more like a wild animal with the way he fought. Izzy then saw before his eyes as he blocked an arm coming down, the Autobot transform into a robotic Tyrannosaurus. It was obvious that Grimlock's alternate form was the famous dinosaur because he had the characteristics of said dinosaur. Big head, large teeth, tiny arms, and stood on two powerful legs. He also had a few details that looked different from other depictions of the T-Rex Izzy knew of, like him having somewhat small draconic horns on his head, or weird barbs running along his back and arms. Another aspect of Grimlock that caught the Red Dragon Emperor off guard was Grimlock in his dinosaur mode breathed a bright blue almost white torrent of flames that melted the armor of the drone and liquefied its inner circuits. Izzy charged a dragon shot with his boosted gears multiplier and punched it in the direction of the lead drone, only for it to notice the blast coming for it. The drone used its arm to swat away the blast harmlessly into the sky, pick up Grimlock and threw the Dinobot at Izzy, the two hitting each other with a loud thud. Rhea saw this and instantly rushed over to them, only to be cut off by three more heavily armored drones. They aimed their missiles at Rhea's, and even though Akano tried to blast them with her lightning, only one of them turned to face the Devil or Fallen Angel hybrid. Its arm cannons changed to electricity conductors that caught all the lightning and powering its own energy-based weapons. Out of my way, Rhea shouted as she unleashed a destructive wave of magic at them, successfully damaging the drones blocking her path from Izzy. The Gremory clan heiress began to head to help Akano with the drone absorbing her lightning spells, but was caught off guard when the drones she damaged sprung on her and pinned the Devil down. Akano noticed Rhea's pinned by the drones and tried to assist her best friend, but narrowly dodged a large blast that came from the drone that kept sapping her magic lightning, firing energy blasts from its red optic. Hold on, Rhea's. We'll help you, Koneko said as she tried to reach her king, but was blocked by more robotic drones, one of which she punched its head off clean. Ravel used her magic to try and back the cat girl up, but two more drones blocked her attacks with energy shields that seemed to sap her power the more she uses them. Sludge transformed into a bear-sized robotic dinosaur better known as Apatosaurus or Brontosaurus for the uninformed, masses of dinosaur knowledge, and whipped his long tail around like a bat, or stomped the ground hard enough to generate small earthquakes that made it difficult to balance. Yeehaw! Cliff Jumper shouted as he leaped from drone to drone like he was playing hopscotch. Heads up, guys. Glass gas missiles are about to fire. The Autobots nearby quickly got out of the way, with Sludge transforming back to robot mode and tackled the drones off Rhea's and carried her, Koneko, and Ravel out of the way as the red Autobot fired his glass gas missiles as they connected to the estimated 50 drones he aimed at. What's glass gas? Koneko asked as she was held in Sludge's arms. Warpath transformed into what looked like a heavily weaponized red M60 Patton, and exclaimed enthusiastically, "Blam! I cannot wait to tear these things apart with my cannons." Capo. The loud tank fired an artillery from his cannon, and it cleaved through several drones so easily that the drones just broke apart like eggshells from the gaping holes in their frames. Cliff Jumper said to the organic battle partners, "Glass gas makes metal as brittle as, well, glass. You just need to punch them real hard and they'll crack easy." Koneko heard that and was eager to see how brittle the substance made these infuriating drones. So she leapt off Sludge's arm and charged at the affected drones. She pulled her fist back and with a mighty swing, the cat girl obliterated her target. It shattered into thousands of tiny shards that hit many other unaffected drones like shrapnel. Rhea's Akano and Ravel thought it looked fun, so they joined in. After seeing Issy and Grimlock get back to fighting the lead drone, Akano delivered a swift kick to one drone, and it collapsed like sand with all its pieces breaking apart with an audible sound like glass shattering. Rias thought her magic might have a better effect, and it did a little, until she decided to use her magic while punching, which yielded better results than she expected. Ravel used her staff to swat drones away, them breaking apart like glass with every connected hit, as the drones couldn't even block the swings without breaking apart. Sludge brought out a huge hand cannon and took aim at the drones, Ravel noticing and warning Issy's friends to get clear when the Dinobot fires his weapon, until, "Hey kids, you might want to clear away. Redhead, let me show you how total destruction is done right." Turn music off. Rias turned in the direction of Warpath in his robot mode, all his weapons humming and clinking to unleash a devastating barrage of fire. She told everyone to get clear as Warpath unleashed his missiles, machine guns, and Gatling guns all over the drones. To say they were destroyed by the onslaught would be an understatement. Warpath completely annihilated the drones and his weapons sights. Even the unaffected drone's armor was torn apart by the relentless attack. The barrage continued for a minute, with an overly ecstatic Warpath laughing as he taunted these Decepticons. Rias heard him say to bring out tougher drones he can tear apart. Much to the Gremory girls' worry, Warpath annihilated around 200 drones altogether, with 125 of them from his last attack. Whatever was left of those drones was either literal dust, a few scattered pieces, or both. The Autobot tank definitely racked up the biggest kill count with that barrage. No contest about that. Even with that, more drones seemed to come from the sky. Windblade was on aerial support with Silverbolt, taking out any drones dumb enough to think of overwhelming their targets with a shower of firepower. Akano noticed that Silverbolt's alternate mode looked like a plane type she recalled was named something like the Concorde or something similar. He fired homing missiles at the drones, disabling them with EMP rockets, with the half-fallen Angel noticing that Silverbolt seemed to prefer flying, much lower than one would think for one who transforms into a plane. But regardless, the drones giving her, Koneko, and Ria's trouble were dealt with. She walked over to the remains of the drone that kept sapping her electric attacks, inspecting the damage. Continue previous track. "Oh my, you might have gone overboard with the weapons, Mr. Warpath," Akano said as she tapped the optic of the drone she had trouble dealing with. "It's no fun beating enemy drones if you can't tear them new orifices with firepower, and make them go. Blam." Warpath replied as he proved his point, by blowing a gaping hole through the torso of another drone. Rias dusted herself off as more drones flew down from the sky. DOO2 looked up and said with an exhausted huff, "Scrap. Is there no end to these things?" Rias replied, even when she knew it was a rhetorical question. "My guess is that they will keep coming until the leader is destroyed. You would be correct in your hypothesis, Miss Gremory," Perceptor said as he used his weak blasters to distract the drones from attacks. "I am already using my radiological instruments to detect a signal that can only be coming from a controller. If we keep their attention on us, I can confirm where the lead drone is hiding." Optimus Prime sliced a burly drone in half with his axe, and said, "Then we will give you the cover needed to finish the job, old friend. Miss Gremory, if you are willing to help us, I humbly ask that you do." Rias still didn't trust Optimus completely, but she could detect a sincerity in his voice, prompting her to say, "Only if you explain yourself what is going on, then we will help you." Decepticon ambush. To the nerve center. Transformers. Fall of Cybertron. The sound of glass shattering loudly alerted everyone towards the direction of the main building of Kuo Academy. There was an opening in the shield behind the school, and drones started to enter the school building. Windblade and Silverbolt noticed as the former shouted, "Optimus, they've broken through the shields surrounding the school building." Optimus saw this and said as he ripped a drone's head off, "Autobots, protect the humans in the school." DOO2, Windblade, Ironhide, Sideswipe, and Cliffjumper ran into the school through an opening created by L709 as he kept the drones busy from getting through his opening. Windblade and Sideswipe were the fastest, so they made it to the school building just in time before the drones could seriously hurt anyone. Some students inside were cowering in fear as some drones had them against the windows. The machine's weapons aimed at them. They heard the glass shatter behind them as they heard a voice say to the boys and girls, "Hey kids, clear a path." The students looked behind and saw this silvery robot with car wheels on his feet rush to them with blades extended. and like the Red Sea, parted as this robot fired at the drones' eyes, disorienting them. The kids heard the bot say to them to duck and stay low to the ground, so they did as they saw this robot blast and slash these attack drones to pieces easily. They then heard what sounded like a jet fly into the building and heard a distinctive mechanical noise and saw a red and black jet robot come at and pull out what looked like an energy katana. From its back, the jet robot pressed 2 fingers where the ears would be located and say in a feminine voice, "Ironhide, Cliff Jumper, DO02, you got drones heading for the people putting up the shield with L709. Don't let them get any chances. Like you need to tell us. Windblade. Just focus on rescuing civilians." Camion city speaker. One voice shouted from outside. It sounded feminine to .it was DO02 if you're wondering. Well, you heard our friend, Windblade. The silver bot said to the jet robot now known to the children as Windblade. Might as well as make it a competition. Who can save the most humans while also who destroys the most robotic drones? Loser has to fix the Ark's oil pipes. And we know how messy those get. Windblade rolled her optics as she replied, fine sideswipe. But let's prioritize rescue over kill count. Optimus wouldn't allow us to put the humans in danger for a scorecard. Outside the shield, things were starting to get dire once again, as the lead drone merged with 4 different drones to become a bigger version of itself. Issy and Grimlock began to lose footing against their battle with the leader. Issy more so than the Dinobot. Issy could only dodge or block attacks that seemed to connect regardless if he just managed to block an attack. He was on his knees as he braced for impact, only for Optimus Prime to catch the arm of the leader drone. On your feet, boy. If you are going to fight, then you must be on your toes. Issy grabbed Optimus' hand and the Autobot helped the teen up onto his feet. Grimlock transformed into his dinosaur mode and proceeded to attack the large drone with a primal, animalistic fury, unrelenting in his attacks. As he bit, clawed, stomped, swatted, and blasted at the nearly 14 feet tall super drone, Optimus heard something in the distance. Issy picked it up too as he asked, "What's that noise?" The boy, and everyone else wondering what and where the noise was coming from, it sounded like Autobots to the rescue. Transformers. The complete score. Perceptor transformed and looked skyward, and said to everyone, "It's Jetfire and 3 of the aerial bots, Optimus." They survived the attack on the Zaxxon. Silverbolt heard this and through his alt mode's instruments, identified who was among the 3 aerial bots. They're Firefly, Air Raid, and Skydive. Come on guys. We need your help. Jetfire and the 3 aerial bots flew better into view and the 3 factions got a good look at the flying Autobots as they began raining down destruction on the drones. They also looked like they were smaller like the other Autobots as well. Air Raid was a black fighter jet from the 80s, likely an F-14 Tomcat. He performed some exceedingly reckless stunts as he flew into the drones like a battering ram, while simultaneously blasting them with missiles. Firefly was a somewhat clumsy bot. If 1 or 2 stray shots fired at Grimlock's shield didn't make the point clear, another fighter jet like Air Raid, but he looked to be a more modern jet, a F-35 Lightning Jolt, by Azazel's guess in red and white colors. Skydive, a more heavily modified, gray and golden yellow jet like Firefly, looked to be an intellectual among these aerial bots, if his scary accurate shots at the drones gave any hint to his personality. Then came Jetfire, a red, white, and lime green bot about 1.5 feet shorter than Grimlock in robot mode, grabbed 2 drones pinning Koneko and tossed them aside for Skydive to obliterate their heads with his missiles. When he flew down, his alternate mode looked to be a space shuttle and alien spaceship mixed together. Besides Optimus, this guy looked like he'd be leader of the Autobots in presence alone. One of the more burly drones tackled Jetfire to the ground as the 2 wrestled. Koneko heard the flying Autobot speak, and heard an old-sounding voice with an accent that made the flyer sound like he was from Australia. Or England. A weird mix of the 2, maybe. "I suggest you get the frag off of me, you waste of metal," Jetfire said as he had twin cannons over his shoulders aim at the drone, and fired powerful laser blasts that decimated the drone's entire upper body, while making a sound that echoed for miles. Koneko looked scared when Jetfire knelt down to help her up, only to feel cold metallic hands wrap around her torso and help the Neko girl on her feet. She turned around to see a completely new face she didn't recognize among the Autobots she saw before. This bot looked a little taller than Kaiba, was white and red, and had hospital crosses on his shoulder plates. Even though he was a robot devoid of wrinkles and such, Koneko noticed this Autobot looked pretty old and grizzled, like he was a grumpy, but good-natured war veteran who's seen it all. His alternate mode based on his armor indicates he transforms into an ambulance like first aid, but a different, more unconventional model that seemed to look like it was a Hummer of sorts modified into an ambulance. His form made it seem like he was a medic like first aid and wheeljack too. Jetfire noticed the new bot and said in his confusing accent, "Ratchet, you old war dog, you made it out of that wreck too. Bet yeah you were extremely lucky to make it out unscathed." What? The medic, now identified as Ratchet, said, in an older man's voice. "Oh, shut up. Jetfire, I may be old, but my audio receptors are still working." Ratchet pointed at the school as he said, "I didn't come alone if that is what you think." Sure enough, Koneko, hearing that, noticed two more shrunken vehicles speeding into the school and transformed into robots and proceeded to demolish the drones, giving Windblade and Sideswipe a hard time. Jetfire noticed the two bots and said, "Hey, that's Streetwise and Hotspot. Those two are real good with rescues. If only Blades and Rook were here, we'd have all the Protectobots present to form Defensor. Then we can really bring the hurt on that lunatic's machines." Hotspot was a cyan fire truck with red details. He looked to be as tall as Optimus in robot mode. Streetwise was a police car that looked to be built for more high-speed chases, as its overall frame looked like they belonged to a sports car, and this guy looked to be a few inches taller than Bumblebee. Forest Battle. Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen original soundtrack. Air Raid flew towards a drone in front of Ria's and delivered a flying kick to the drone's head, decapitating it and sending the head towards the lead drone's face and distracting it. Riaz looked at this new aerial bot and noticed he was as tall as she was, and was caught off guard when the jet said, "Woohoo, that makes 300 takedowns in 3 days. Mr. Jet Robot," Riaz asked as she tapped Air Raid's back, catching the bot's attention. "Huh, what do you want, little girl?" And the name's Air Raid for future reference. Air Raid asked Riaz, looking at her with an indifferent look, as she answered his question. "Okay, Air Raid, please help Issy with fighting the drone's leader. He's in the red armor fighting it with the one you call Grimlock." Riaz pointed towards the lead drone, specifically to the red armored guy throwing a punch that the lead drone blocked. Air Raid looked at the lead drone while blasting oncoming drones with an assault rifle built in his arm. He then had a smirk form on his face as he then said without looking at Riaz, "Oh baby, he looks tough given my current size. Why didn't you guys tell me about this guy to begin with? Heads up, Grimlock. Air Raid is coming through hot." Air Raid transformed into his jet mode and rammed the lead drone, crashing it through the old school building and making a huge gaping hole through the first floor to the woods behind the building, freaking Riaz and some of her other peerage members out over how much more destroyed the building already is. Gasper, already having enough of this, decided he will use his sacred gear on the lead drone and paralyze it. "Issy, I will stop that thing in its tracks. Attack it now." The cross-dresser shouted to his friend, which Issy heard, and told Grimlock and Optimus Prime that there will be an excellent opportunity to defeat the lead drone. Gasper Vladi activated his sacred gear, Forbidden Balor View, and unleaded it on the drones, particularly at the lead drone. After failing 2 times to trap the lead drone, which Perceptor has confirmed is the source of the signal controlling the other drones, Gasper managed to trap it, freezing the huge robot drone in place. Now, while it's stuck, Issy shouted as he, Optimus, Grimlock, Air Raid, Warpath, Akano, and Riaz all unleashed their attacks and opened fire on the drone. The drone was freed when Gasper released his hold on the drone as it took the onslaught head-on, and as it was damaged, the hundreds of drones invading Kuo Town started to sputter and spark. With every impact the leader took, Warpath's Gatling guns tore off the drone's arms and legs. Air Raid's missiles blasted gaping holes in its reinforced armor plating. Grimlock turned into his dinosaur mode and melted the innards of the machine. The 3 devils blasted it with their magic, and Optimus used his I Don't cannon to decimate the exposed circuits and destroyed the head of the drone. When the machine's head was blasted off, all the drones shut off automatically and flopped to the ground like puppets whose strings were cut. The lead drone still stood strong, and was the only one left active despite the incredible punishment it just received. Your choice. Tense calm. Optimus, Surzix, Issy. and Perceptor walked up to the drone as it struggled to stand up, determined to continue its programming by using its nubs to stand active. An exposed optical camera being the only thing left of its head, which was miraculously in good condition. This was telling to the Autobots, as its computer was inside the main body as opposed to the other drone CPUs located in their heads. Riaz wanted to get a closer look, but was stopped by the timely arrival of Jazz, Bumblebee and the others who went into the town. "Hold up, little lady," Jazz said as he held out his arm in front of the Grummery heiress. "That thing is still active. Least we know it may still has some kind of nasty surprise to spring on us. So hang back. I'll scope it out. You dig?" Riaz remained confused at Jazz's words, but decided to play it safe as the Autobots did prevent the entire town she calls home from being destroyed completely and the people slaughtered. "Very well, Riaz nodded, then looking frustrated as she tried to remember this bot's name, which he helpfully reminded Jazz. "It's Jazz Cool." He looked over to L709 and said to him, "Yo, Defense, get your actuators over here. We'll need that extra strong shield of yours in case our guest tries something funny." I'm coming. L709 said as he pulled a device from his hips and activated it, pulling up an energy shield that looked like a barricade of sorts that he could move like it was a cardboard slab. He had it ready to put in front of the bots confronting the last drone standing as oil and sparks flew and dripped from its damage. Ready if it had a trick up its sleeve, Optimus spoke to the drone in a serious tone. "State your purpose. I know that Megatron has sent you here to kill us." The drone said nothing, its voice processor while surprisingly undamaged. Its connections to much of its CPU were severed, leaving the drone itself unable to speak. Perceptor walked up to it with Ratchet close behind, and pulled a cord from his arm and plugged it into the drone, who couldn't resist the action with nothing left for it to do. Ratchet stated as Perceptor pulled up holographic UI screens and began hacking. The drone, its vocal processor was severed, so it cannot speak. So we'll just pry into its hard drives to get answers, including on why the Decepticons came to this universe. Before Optimus could respond, Perceptor shouted as a flurry of sparks shot from the port he connected to and was forcefully disconnected to the drone. By forcefully, I mean forcefully, as in he was shot back into Ratchet, and the two scientists crashed into a tree and broke it. Bumblebee and Bulkhead ran over to help the two to their feet, causing Akano to ask, "Oh my, what happened there?" Before a shaken Perceptor could answer the girl's question, a scratchy, male voice suddenly said, "Oh no, you don't. You're not hacking into my prototype that easily." Perceptor, Eggman. Theme of Dr. Eggman. Sonic Adventure 2. The Autobots recognized the voice, and Issy too, as Optimus said while clenching his metal fists. "Dr. Robotnik, I knew you were the creator of these machines. Explain now why you are working for the Decepticons." Ho 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 ho. The drone projected a video feed from its optic camera, showing a cartoonishly obese human with a big bushy mustache, speaking to the leader of the Autobots. "Isn't that the million-dollar question, Optimus Prime? I admit, these drones were just to confirm some tests I wanted to conduct, and you Autobots did them perfectly. I'll admit, I'd much rather use these new babies to obliterate that nasty little pincushion who's been a thorn in my side. But if they manage to terminate someone of your status and standing, I think we all agree that the Decepticons would have nothing left to stand in their way." Issy was completely shocked at who he was seeing from the projection, thinking all the while, no freaking way. That's Dr. Eggman from the Sonic the Hedgehog games. That voice and that appearance are unmistakably him. Scrap this. You tell us what you and Buckethead are up to, or else. Bulkhead said before. Eggman interrupted him. Or else what? Wrecker, you'll sneer me to death? I am safely tucked away where you and that pesky hedgehog cannot reach me, and for now, Megatron's interests and mine align. Then you should inform us whether your plans involve the harm of innocent people, or what Ghidorah is up to. Optimus ordered in his stern tone. As if I'd tell the head honcho of the multiverse's peacekeeper force. Eggman replied while stroking his mustache and smirking, which really made the three factions hate this Dr. Eggman character. Which reminds me, Eggman said as he pulled up a remote. Now that I've got valuable data on your fight with my Decepti drones, you are all no longer any use for me, as that blue pest isn't here. I'll settle for destroying the lot of you instead. Sayonara, Optimus Prime. I'll be sure to tell Sonic about your demise. Jahahahaha. Eggman pressed a big red button on his remote and the screen deactivated and the drone slumped lifelessly to the ground. Riaz and the other residents of Kuo Town wondered what was up with what Eggman meant by what he said, until they heard the lead Decepti drone start to tick and beep, like a timer. Its optic glowing in rhythm to the beeps. Suddenly, some of the more intact drones started to do the same as the leader. Warpath tore the armor around the chest of one drone, and shouted, "These things are loaded with C4 self-destruct devices, rigged to go off in a minute 30. Suspense Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright, Dual Destinies. Optimus' eyes widened with shock as he shouted, "Perceptor, already on it, Optimus." The scientist interrupted as he quickly plugged back in to the lead drone and began to try and disable the self-destruct sequence. "I'm overclocking my cerebral circuits already to try and disable the bombs. It will be uncomfortably close, so in case I am a microsecond too late, gather all the drones that have the self-destruct sequence activated and try to get them clear from the town's radius." Optimus took no time whatsoever to hesitate as he barked out the order. "You heard him, Autobots. Bring all the activated drones here to dispose of them all at once. Silverbolt, you, Skyburst, Stormclash, Skydive, and Firefly merge into Superion and fly all the collected drones as high as possible into the sky." Air Raid whined to the head bot, "Hey, why am I left out? I'm an aerial bot. I am a component to Superion. Why am I? There's no time." Optimus exclaimed as he started to bring as many of the blinking drones to a central point as possible. "Hurry. There's only 50 seconds before this entire town is destroyed." All members of the Alliance panicked as there's no time for keeping secrets from the unaware humans. So they immediately took action and started to gather the drones that were ticking and beeping and bringing them to the sports field that held the sports festival a while back. All the Autobots transformed into their vehicle modes and started pushing or dragging drones on the brink of self-destructing. The angels, fallen angels, and devils all pitched in, gathering the important drones, ignoring the silent ones that are beyond broken. Without a doubt, because of the urgency of the situation, all three races of this world told the humans present to help out, the biggest indicator of this being Sona telling the student body and faculty of Kuo Academy to push out any drones in the building that are blinking, beeping, or ticking and be quick about it. The fact that the student council president told them in a panicked tone made it all the more clear that this wasn't something to joke about. Everyone was in very real danger. So all the boys and girls frantically scoured the school buildings and pushed or dropped any machines on the verge of self-destruction. The drones were all gathered in a huge pile that the Dinobots bunches and melded together as Silverbolt, two aerial bots, and the twin helicopters merged together into a giant robot, a colossal 16 feet tall robot. Given that all 5 bots were shrunken at the moment, the size was impressive given the situation. "Superion, online." The massive merged bot said in a masculine voice, though it sounded like Grimlock, ready for action. Riaz had sweat forming from her forehead, as she heard Bulkhead say, "Thank Primus that our strength wasn't reduced from the PIM particles, or we would be toast." There was 20 seconds left, and Optimus gave the order, "Superion, get those drones skyward now." Perceptor crunched the numbers with frightening speed, after determining that he won't deactivate the bombs in time, and replied to Optimus' order, "Optimus, given that air raid isn't a part of the configuration present, and the other aerial bots are missing, this Superion is incomplete and lacks the necessary power to fly the drones into the sky. The blast will generate a shockwave that will destroy the town instead of the explosion, and kill every living creature within a 50-mile radius bubble." That really worried everyone until Surzik said, "Wait, the pocket dimension from the raiding game between Riser and Riaz, that might get us clear. Azazel, help me open the portal, and Optimus, have Superion toss those machines into the portal." Optimus then said to the Combiner, "You heard him, Superion. Do it." Superion nodded and said, "Batter up." As he lifted the mass of drones, more than 6 times the Combiner's size, and tossed the mass into the portal Surzix and Azazel created to the pocket dimension. There were 5 seconds left as the mass started to enter the portal, with Optimus shouting, "Everyone take cover now." All the Autobots, angels, fallen angels, devils, and humans got down to the ground and covered the back of their heads as the Dinobots fired streams of flames at the mass and Sludge fired a rocket missile at the mass, pushing it farther into the portal faster as it started to close. The Dinobots then took cover themselves and the portal shrunk a considerable amount. Before the explosion was set off, the portal closed in time. But the impact of the blast was so powerful that they all heard the boom and felt the winds whip up with hurricane-like force. The deafening volume of the explosion, and then the sound of glass shattering raised alarms for the magic users. As the explosion must have damaged the barriers surrounding the pocket dimension, after feeling the force the blast generated from another dimension for about 20 seconds, it stopped. Everyone looked up and saw that everything was still here for the most part. Surzix, Azazel, and Michael looked at what has happened to the fake Kuo Academy in that pocket dimension, and to put it bluntly, there was no fake Kuo Academy. There was nothing but molten rock throughout the arena's entire area. No trees, no buildings, no pieces of the drones, nothing but molten rock from the ground. The barrier surrounding the battlefield was cracked so thoroughly, it looked like a dome made of spiderwebs. This worried them, as that wood was more durable than the real school building. For the sake of the raiding games, your choice. Sinister plans. The young teenagers let out a loud sigh of relief and collapsed onto their backs. It was a really close shave, and a few of them, despite the stress and fear that hit them like a runaway train, started to laugh when it was all over, prompting everyone else to laugh and then cheer that they survived. From oblivion. Dr. Eggman noticed from his technological instruments that not all the drones could self-destruct, broken so thoroughly that he could only get sensory readings from their built-in sonars. The town stayed standing, and he saw that none of the Autobot signals went offline. He failed to destroy them, but he wasn't upset. If anything, he seemed pleased that they successfully foiled his plans to destroy them. Why is entirely his own reason, but one might suspect that it had something to do with them dealing with Megatron. Hey Shockwave, Eggman said in his laboratory. The drones performed exactly as we predicted they would, barring that they failed to destroy Prime and his auto buddies. The screen of one of his computers flickered on as an imposing, purple robot with a singular red eye spoke with his eye lighting up yellow with. Every syllable said ... It is logical that the drones have failed in terminating the Autobots. Shockwave spoke in a deep, monotone voice that oozed creepy. They were not designed for Autobot confrontation. But this test yielded results that more than make up for the logical evolution of the prototypes for use against the Autobots and their allies. Well, we will see what the Decepti-Drones 2.0 will do for future confrontations with those goody-two-shoes. The human scientist said as he turned off the monitor, then thinking aloud. Was it me, or were the Autobots smaller than I remember? Your choice. Cheer. Back at Kuo Academy. The medic bots in Asia were healing the injured Autobots and magical beings. Riaz and company were introduced to the new faces that helped out with the Decepti drone attacks. Hotspot, Streetwise, Jetfire, Air Raid, Firefly, Skydive, RC, Smokescreen, Q500. Jetfire told Optimus about the missing crew of this ship they called the Zaxxon, which the Gremory clan overheard. Cosmos survived the attack and he's in orbit trying to locate our missing crew and effectively do a roll call, as the humans put it. We've ran into Hashimoto and invited him to assist with those mechanical drones, but he left to look for and bring together the others with Cosmos directions. He has found that much of the Zaxxon's crew survived the attack by Ghidorah. Sir, we've lost 20 during the attack. 14 Autobots and 6 agents from the Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement and Logistics Division, which includes Agent Carolina. She was my favorite little bugger. Optimus Prime looked down sorrowfully and said as he put a hand on the flyer's shoulder. I know you two were close, and I'm sorry we couldn't do anything else to save those we've lost to our FOs. Let's be sure their sacrifices were not in vain. Jetfire nodded and added to his report. Well, the method Cosmos confirmed who survived is severely hampered by the way we entered this reality. We're able to confirm who survived, but not where they were located. Hence why that boy, when looking for them to bring them here. What's worse is that, for the moment, we cannot call our benefactors, if y'all know what I mean. So we have no way of getting a call out to Ultra Magnus or Soups, who are out in other realities on their own missions, or even Palkia, to send reinforcements to our location? Jazz asked, as he shook his head. Man, that is a bummer, but we've been in tighter situations than this. Remember the Battle of Tiger Pass? That one was a real tight spot. Optimus nodded as he thought about something. Something seemed to trouble him, a feeling of uneasiness. He replied to his inner circle and said, Palkia and her siblings cannot help us at this moment, they're busy in their own mission to find that one thing that can defeat Ghidorah, as not even the Requiem blaster could put him down. If we're cut off from our allies of the divine variety, then we will have to be extremely careful with our fight with Megatron, as well as Dr. Robotnik. Both of them are certain to capitalize on this advantage given to them. Optimus noticed the teenagers listening in with confused expressions on their faces, as he said to Riaz, "Now that the fight is over, I do owe all of you an explanation of who and what we are." Riaz was about to reply to the Autobot leader, until Perceptor said, "I have managed to fix a glitch in the PIM particles regarding how we all are our original weight despite our current sizes. We can't get back to our original sizes just yet, but we should be able to perform better as a result of this fix." Perceptor activated a small device on his person and it made a tool appear in his hands. And as he fired it at the Autobots, some of them checked and were relieved to have their center of mass restored, even though most of them would prefer their normal sizes. Izzy was glad he was going to get answers for Ria's sake, but is still having a hard time processing what happened, especially with Dr. Eggman, a baddie from a video game franchise. He is a foe to the Autobots. But that revelation did make the perverted devil regress to his childhood days briefly, as if Eggman was real. Further confirmed by the doctor's own words, that his nemesis, Sonic the Hedgehog, was real too, and was eager to meet a character he idolized in his elementary school days, Decepticons. Transformers original film soundtrack. Meanwhile, the Decepticon Condor, Buzzsaw had just finished recording the mission given to Blackout. The Deception Condor, Buzzsaw had just finished recording the mission given to Blackout. The Decepticon, using the internet to pick his target, had just laid siege on one of the larger military bases belonging to the US. It was located along the borders of a country that the global superpower was having political issues with at the moment, and Megatron's hound made certain that there were no survivors, as the base was completely destroyed. He unknowingly left a few humans and an angel escape, which Buzzsaw caught, and had one of the Decepticon drones based on the Titan, Scorponok, to finish off the stragglers. Blackout looked at the carnage he inflicted, as he grabbed a mangled tank and said as he walked over to an unfortunate human who tried to crawl away to safety, "Disgusting creatures these humans are. So weak, easy to crush like the insects they are." He then hefted the tank over his head, and brought it down like a hammer on the desperate human, crushing him and killing him with a bloody splatter. This human actually was from the country America was having trouble with, and was there to try and mend. The relationships between the countries. But his life was unfortunately cut short by the cruel Blackout. Now to return to base for further instructions. I've acquired the data necessary for Lord Megatron to plan out his next attack. If it wasn't for those stupid flashbags cutting my connection mid-download. Sure enough, one high-ranked angel came down in response to a distress signal from one of the angels and was horrified at what he saw. He asked himself as Blackout was already out of range to be noticed. Who could be so cruel? This is the work of someone as evil as the old devil, the almighty vanquished. End of chapter 2. Link down to the comments if you want to read the rest of the story. I hope you all enjoy. Goodbye.